What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Math with Mr. Stevens. Last one I said this one, it was going to be a short one. I super lied. It was like 8 minutes long. I'm going to try to keep this one like 5 minutes or less. So let's move quickly. We're on page 157, looking at pair number 2. Okay, again, doing the same thing as we did in the last video and the video before. We're looking at two different lines that have been placed on a coordinate plane. And what we're looking to do is determine which one is steeper and then find the slope of both of them. So let's start with graph A. And with part A, it asks which graph is steeper. That seems to be a pretty straightforward question, especially with two lines that are as drastically different as these two. Here is this point given for the 2 points given to us for graph A. Here are the 2 points given to us for graph B. So in determining, looking at the difference between these 2 points and these 2 points, the difference in terms of steepness is pretty clear. Graph A is steeper. Now, how do we get from this point here to this point here on graph A and this point here to this point here on graph B? Let's find out. Same way we did before. We're going to look at the difference in the rise. So we're going to look at how far we have to go up, and then that is going to be divided by its run. So in terms of rise for graph A, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going up 7, so it's a positive 7. And then we're going 1 to the right, which is a positive 1. Okay, so for graph A, let me make sure that it's lined up right so you can see it. For graph A, we go 7 up, 1 right. Both of those moves being positive, so they're both going to be positive when we go to put them together in our slope. For graph B, same scenario. When looking to find the slope of a line, this is something you can do every single time. If you have a graphed line on a coordinate plane, this is what you need to do. Essentially, look at where that line meets two whole values. So for right here, we meet at 2, positive 1. And here we meet at 8, positive 4. Positive 8, positive 4. Okay? You could technically use this point on this line right here where 7 meets it, but it's somewhere in between 3 and 4. We don't know exactly where it is. So you want to use points where you know exactly what the value is. This point here, this point here. We also have a couple other ones. We could go here, we could go here, we could go down there, we could go at 0. All of those things we could potentially use, but we're going to use the two that they gave us. So we go up, and then we go to the right to get to this one. So we go up, and so we go 1, 2, 3, going up 3, and we're going to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that is a plus 6. And so for graph B, let me slide that over a bit. Graph B, the way we change and go from one point to the next is go up 3, and then we go 6 to the right. And so when we're looking at these in terms of putting them together as a ratio, as they ask us to do, this is what we're going to do. We're going to, same thing we've done before. We're going to take the difference and look at our change in elevation versus the change horizontally. Okay, same thing with graph B as well. So for graph A, we went up 7 to the right 1, so that is change in y divided by change in x. Okay, I put those little triangles there to show change. That's what that means. You'll see that later on. Okay, change in y for graph A, change in y is a plus 7. Change in x is a plus 1, and so that means your slope is a slope of 7. 7 is actually a very steep slope. The higher your number is, the more steep your number, or the more steep your line will be. In this particular case, 7 is actually one of the steeper ones you'll see. Graph B, same deal. Okay, so graph B, we have the change in y, and change in elevation is a plus 3, and that's going to be divided by our change in run, which is a plus 6. So 3, 6. This is one of those opportunities that we have to reduce this down. We're going to reduce that down to 1/2, and so our slope is a value of 1/2. And so when comparing these two with graph A and graph B in terms of their slopes, one of them very clearly has a larger number. 7 is a much higher number than 1/2. And so as a result, we have a much steeper line and a much steeper graph. The steeper the slope, and the higher the slope value, the steeper the line will be when it's actually graphed on a coordinate plane. Okay, this is what we're continuing to do. This is what we're going to continue to look at. There's lots of examples in here, and we're going to be working on several of them. Adios.